All right. Well, in life, we all have life changing events. We have that one event that either elevates us to the next level or we fail and it actually descends us to a level or two below. And in boxing, it's the same thing. It's nothing new. There's always the saying that people say, oh, this guy's fought nobody. And my response to that is, well, everybody fights nobody until they fight somebody. And on April 29th, Anthony Joshua's somebody is going to be none other than the legendary Wladimir Klitschko. Undefeated for 10 years prior to Tyson the Truth Fury outboxing him clearly and handily a few years back. Now, whether you think the Klitschko of old is gone or the Klitschko that we've come to know, that Hall of Famer, that guy who was undefeated for 10 years before Tyson Fury upset him, which is a fight that I called. I hate to rub it in, but I did pick Tyson Fury. I told you guys Tyson Fury would upset the apple cart against Wladimir Klitschko when everyone else said that Tyson Fury was going to get knocked out. I have to throw it out there that I was right, and I have to say I told you so on that one. And I'm also going to be telling you so in this one, in my opinion. That's what I believe. Now, no disrespect to Charles Martin, no disrespect to Dillian White, but this is the man. This is going to be the true test for Anthony Joshua, whether or not Klitschko is what he once was or if he's declined significantly. We'll find out on April 29th. Now let's just take a look at this fight and break down the styles. Now, a lot of people compare Anthony Joshua to Deontay Wilder because they're both big, strong heavyweights. They're athletic heavyweights. They're explosive heavyweights, and they have killer punching power. And they're not really great defensive specialists. They don't move their head a lot. They're not good at really dipping and ducking and eluding shots. But again, when you're 6'6", who really does dip and duck and fights exceptionally slick, you know, when you're a big heavyweight fighting in this heavyweight division? For the most part, guys either pull back and lean away or they just catch the shots on the glove and parry them away. But the difference, I think, between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder is their offense obviously is their defense, but I think Anthony Joshua is a little more defensively responsible than Deontay Wilder for a number of reasons. Number one, he always is on balance. So, you know, when he's punching, he's always able to, you know, recoil and reset himself and get himself in a defensive posture faster because he's not really throwing those wild, whirling dervish type shots that kind of throw his body out of position. And when you throw your body out of position like that, when you're winging and you're basically looking like you're swimming in there sometimes when you're throwing those wild haymakers like Deontay Wilder does at times, it takes you all the more time to recoil yourself back into an offensive or defensive posture. Whereas Anthony Joshua, you know, he's never leaning too far forward. His shoulders are never over past his knees when he throws punches, and everything seems to be sharp, straight, or when it's not straight, it's if it's a looping short shot, it's compact, elbows are in. He's never really pulling back and winging and throwing arm punches that I sometimes see Deontay Wilder do. Now, Deontay Wilder does have a pretty good jab, does have a pretty good right hand, but really doesn't have a ton of anything else. He's not an exceptional body puncher, doesn't have a real good left hook, whereas Anthony Joshua is a really skilled combination puncher, you know, really puts his body behind every shot and doesn't really throw any arm punches in there. When he throws his jab, he jabs to the body, jabs to the head, jabs to the shoulders and chest. So he's got a real educated jab. He really knows how to open up his opponent for those headshots, by throwing the body shots and, by throwing those short, compact punches when he doesn't have a lot of room. So, if he's crowded in there, if he doesn't always have the space he needs to throw the long shots, he's really good at throwing those 45s up and underneath, and he's really good at ducking, digging down deep with those body shots. So I just think offensively, he's a little bit more fluid with his combination punching, and I think he's just better with his combination punching. And I think he's good at, bringing his hands back quick to his face, and he's really good at blocking shots. Again, not really slick with the head movement, not really elusive, but he's a pretty good counter puncher. And another thing, too, is he's not afraid to punch with his opponent. And a lot of times, because he's so quick and explosive, and he's really good at gauging distance, he when he punches with his opponent, a lot of times his shots get there, or if they don't get there, they're usually harder and they do more damage. So with all that being said, that's going to be a key component in this fight with Wladimir Klitschko. Because Wladimir Klitschko, his two lines of defense are, the first line of defense is to lean back away from his opponent, and the second line of defense is to hold. Doesn't really keep his hands high, and a lot of times he keeps his hands down by his chest because he's so used to leaning away from shots as opposed to blocking shots. And if you get in there close, he's going to try and wrap you up. And I think, not to downplay Wladimir Klitschko in any way, but the opponents he's fought in his career, they've been good opponents. I'm not saying that he's had subpar competition. He hasn't had the creme de la creme type of competition that Evander Holyfield had when he was fighting at heavyweight. There was a lot more bigger names there, and obviously we know the Ali era. But, every time he fought a smaller guy who was really skilled, obviously the physical limitations of that person really did not help them in the fight. So if they were skilled, they were either they were too small to really capitalize on their skill because they didn't have, the physical dimensions to be successful against a taller, longer Klitschko. And if they were big or bigger or the same size as Wladimir, they really weren't athletic enough, or they really weren't highly skilled. So I think the one time a big guy who was highly skilled in Tyson Fury, he came up short. So he's going to be in another situation in this fight where he's going to have a big guy, just as big as him, if not bigger. He's going to have a big guy who, on top of that, coupled up with that, is going to have the skill to go along with the size. So that's going to be a problem for Wladimir Klitschko, in my opinion, because you're not just going in there with a big lummox. You're going in there with a big, athletic, explosive guy. And Wladimir Klitschko, after suffering those knockout losses, against Corey Sanders, Lamont Brewster, and Ross Purity, we've seen him kind of change up his style a little bit. So he's either in offensive mode or defensive mode. And when he's in defensive mode, he's just looking to get out of the way and really try to evade hitting getting hit with shots. He's not looking to be a counter puncher. He's not looking to slip. He's not looking to catch and shoot. He's not looking to slip and shoot. He's just, in defensive mode. And when he's in defensive mode, it takes him time to get back into the offensive mode. And, it puts himself out of position because of the way he defends. Because if you lean back away from your opponent, then you're in no position to counterpunch him, or it's going to take you more time to put yourself back into an offensive posture where you can go back on the attack. So there's going to be a little bit of time. There's going to be that little gap in time, that lull, where you're not going to be punching. And Gennady Golovkin sometimes does that too, because when he's defending, he's not putting himself back into an offensive position. So in other words, if you're punching at him, his just only thought process is to just defend against you. He's not thinking, I'm going to, catch and shoot. I'm going to slip and shoot, or I'm going to, dip off to the side and roll back and counterpunch you. He's just looking to defend. And I think Wladimir Klitschko is the same thing. he has the same type of mentality, the same type of approach. So when he's leaning away from shots, he's definitely in no position to kind of counter punch back. And when he's grabbing you, he's not looking to push you off and create some space and then punch off the clinch like Kell Brook does and like Shane Mosley did. He's just looking to freeze the action. He's just looking to defend. So in other words, he's going to fight when he wants to fight. And, if you're coming at him, you can push him back at times, or you can force him to lean back. And while he's doing all those things, you don't really have to think about anything coming back at you, at that point in time. But the problem has always been in the past, as I said, the smaller guys who really just did not have the physical dimensions to get to him, he was able to keep them out there, at the end of his jab so he can line up the right hand. And he's the type of guy that is really content on throwing that one punch at a time. And he's not going to jump on you until he gets you hurt. So with Anthony Joshua, he has no problem, standing in the danger zone with you and exchanging with you and punching with you. And he's not just going to throw one punch at a time. As I said, he's a really good, skilled, fluid combination puncher that can hurt you with either hand. I don't think that Wladimir Klitschko is going to be able to lean away from a guy who's just as tall and long as him. Because you saw when he tried to lean away from Tyson Fury was still able to, pick and peck away at him. So if he tries to lean away from Anthony Joshua like he does most of his opponents, Anthony Joshua is going to be able to touch him because of the reach, and he's going to be able to take that little step forward because he's so quick on his feet and he's just so explosive. He's going to be able to cut the distance, and he's going to nullify the moments when Wladimir Klitschko leans back, and Wladimir Klitschko is going to basically think that he's out of range, but he's not going to be out of range because Anthony Joshua will be able to close the distance, and he'll be long enough to be able to touch Wladimir Klitschko, whereas the shorter guys or the less athletically gifted guys or the slower, bigger guys were not able to capitalize on that. So that's where I think the problem lies for Wladimir Klitschko in this fight. You're going to be in there with the guy who's quick, who's explosive, who's not just going to throw one punch at a time. He's going to outwork you in spots. And, if you decide that you're going to, be inactive in this fight like you were in the Tyson Fury fight, this is a guy that's going to step to you and take it to you. And, he's going to go to your body. He's going to jab you and touch you to the body and touch you in the chest. He's going to open you up. He's going to force you to move your hands around. And he's going to create those openings against you. And when he hits you with a good shot, he's going to follow up. I don't think that he's going to be overly defensive in this fight. I don't think he's going to show Wladimir Klitschko a ton of respect in this fight or show him too much respect in this fight. I think he's going to sit there and say to himself, I got to see what the old man got. I got to see if this is the Wladimir Klitschko of old. I got to see if, I can push this guy back and put him on his heels and put him on the defensive. And I got to get his respect early. And I got to see if he responds to that. And even if he does respond to that, again, we saw Anthony Joshua get hurt in that Dillian White fight. Got hurt really bad. And a lot of other fighters maybe not have been able to come back from that. But, he regained his composure, put his hands up high, and he was blocking shots, and he was still coming back with his own. So he didn't go into a defensive shell once he got hurt. The problem with Wladimir Klitschko is he's going to go into a defensive shell at points when I think he gets hurt. I think, he's a safety-first fighter, and he remembers those prior knockouts in his career. He remembers gassing out. So that's why he's not going to really be overly active in this fight. And again, at 41 years old, you may look the part, you may be that body beautiful, but at the end of the day, this isn't a bodybuilding contest. So as you get older, and I don't know any fighters as they've gotten older, they've become more active. Their punch output has gotten higher. So I don't see his punch output getting higher in this fight. I don't see all of a sudden Wladimir Klitschko turning into a volume puncher in this fight. So you're going to have a guy who's just as big as you, maybe even bigger, arguably stronger than you. I think someone who hits harder than you, someone who's quicker than you, with foot speed and hand speed. and someone who actually has power in both hands, where, even though Wladimir Klitschko has knocked people out with the left hook, he knocked out Eddie Chambers with the left hook late in the fight, but his claim to fame has always been that right hand. That's the money punch for him. And we've seen Anthony Joshua really knock people out with either hand. We've seen him knock people out with body shots. We've seen him knock people out with uppercuts. So, this guy's got the power of death in both hands, and he can, operate in many different ways in this fight. He can take you out in a variety of ways. And another great thing about him is his punch selection. And that speaks to his balance and his coordination. He always looks composed in there, always looks like, he's got his feet underneath him, and every punch he throws, he's got his body behind it. So he's not throwing get off me punches. He's not throwing arm punches. Even when he's setting you up, he's pushing guys back and hurting guys with jabs. That's how strong this guy is. That's how explosive this guy is. When Klitschko's throwing that get off me jab, trying to push him back, trying to gauge that range and set him up with the right hand, he's going to be slapping that down, and he's just going to be jabbing over it, and he's going to come over the top of his own right hand. And once he's inside, I think he's going to fight his way out of those clinches, and he's going to be punching his way out of those clinches. And, Wladimir Klitschko is going to be getting outworked in this fight, and I think eventually he's going to get stopped. He's going to get hit with one or two shots, and, I don't think he's going to be able to survive the distance in this fight. So that's why I'm looking for Anthony Joshua to knock out Wladimir Klitschko. I'm going to say in the 7th round. I don't think Wladimir Klitschko makes it out of this fight. I think he's had a great career. Definitely going to go in the Hall of Fame. But this is going to be Anthony Joshua's true heavyweight championship fight. This is the fight that is really going to elevate Anthony Joshua and really enhance his name in the sport. This is where Anthony Joshua, in my opinion, becomes that crossover star. And I think he ever does cross paths with Deontay Wilder, I think he knocks him out too. I just think this guy is too good all around. I think he's got the speed, he's got the power, he's got the technique, and I think he's really knows how to fight. I think he really knows how to fight. So I think that Anthony Joshua will win this fight. I think he'll win this fight handily and impressively. And I can't wait, man. April 29th, I think, is going to be an outstanding fight. I think it's going to be an exciting fight for as long as it lasts. And I think we're going to see the best of Anthony Joshua. I really don't think we're going to see the best of Wladimir Klitschko. And even if we did see the best of Wladimir Klitschko, this would still be a tough fight for him. So I don't think Wladimir Klitschko could have gotten any better during this time off that he's had since the Tyson Fury fight, where Anthony Joshua's been continuously active. He's been in the ring. He's been training for fights. He's had fights, been fighting, 3-4 times a year, where the older fighter, Wladimir Klitschko, has been on the shelf. So I don't see any way that this version of Wladimir Klitschko at 41 is going to be able to deal with this version of Anthony Joshua, who is still getting better, in my opinion. We haven't seen the best from Anthony Joshua yet. And April 29th, we're going to see a piece of the best, but there's still more to come, in my opinion. I'm really high on this kid. This is going to be the face of the heavyweight division, in my opinion, moving forward in boxing. All right, man. Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. Peace. This is going to be a great fight. I can't wait.